That's not a plane. It's the angel of death. The German radio operator screamed into the mic. 9 enemy aircraft, 3 Zeros, 2 Ki-84 Franks, and 4 Ki-61 Tonys were sweeping low at 290 mph across the southern edge of Okinawa, at 7,000 feet. They had radar clearance and a clean shot toward the western beachhead. But then a single F4U Corsair, diving at 385 mph from 11,200 feet, punched through cloud cover with all guns hot. 1 second later, the lead Zero lost its left wing to a 5-round burst. 2 seconds later, tracer fire ripped through the second plane's cockpit. 6 seconds in, the formation shattered, 5 of them turned. 2 climbed, and none knew where he was aiming next. The Corsair's pilot, a 19-year-old Marine on his second combat sortie. His squadron had written him off. He missed radio check-in, broke patrol formation, and was flying alone. Command had labeled him not carrier qualified. His fuel was low. His orders were to return to base, but instead he dove. And what he pulled off using a maneuver the Navy flight manual called suicidal would rewrite everything they thought the F4U could do. They didn't call the F4U Corsair dangerous in whispers. They said it out loud, in briefing rooms, on flight lines, and in accident reports. By late 1943, the aircraft had earned a nickname no pilot wanted attached to his logbook, the Ensign Eliminator. The reason was simple and brutal. The Corsair's massive 13-foot propeller forced its landing gear to be long and springy. On final approach, the nose sat high, nearly 12 degrees up, blocking forward visibility. Rookie pilots bounced, overcorrected, slammed the deck, and flipped. In one 6-month span, more than 20 landing accidents were logged, many under 90 seconds after touchdown, at speeds as low as 95 mph. The Navy's solution was blunt: ban the Corsair from carrier decks, reassign it to land bases, and above all, keep inexperienced pilots out of it. Training officers were clear. Do not fly the Corsair solo unless fully qualified. Do not take it into low-altitude dogfights. Do not attempt vertical reversals below 5,000 feet. The aircraft was powerful, over 2,000 horsepower, but unforgiving. Its torque on throttle up could yaw the nose violently left. Its roll rate above 300 mph lagged by nearly 3 seconds compared to lighter fighters. And if you mishandled flaps at combat speed, they could rip clean off the wings. The young Marine flying over Okinawa had heard all of this. He'd sat through the lectures, memorized the accident statistics, watched grainy films of Corsairs cartwheeling into the sea. His instructors had told him the same thing twice, sometimes 3 times in one day. This aircraft will kill you if you rush it. This aircraft does not forgive mistakes. This aircraft is not for heroes. That's why his squadron laughed when he asked detailed questions about torque behavior at 280 mph. That's why they shook their heads when he practiced high-power climbs at low altitude. One senior pilot told him flatly, "You fly that thing like it's angry." Because it is. The assumption was simple. The Corsair was a brute. Use it wrong, and you died. So when this rookie missed a scheduled radio check and ended up alone over Okinawa, nobody expected brilliance. They expected a crash report measured in minutes and feet. What they didn't expect was that the very trait that made the Corsair deadly to its own pilot's engine torque was about to become a weapon. Because the maneuver he was about to use was the same one instructors warned against. Written in bold letters in the margins of training manuals, do not attempt torque reversal at low altitude. Standard doctrine said to never outmuscle a Zero. It wasn't a fair fight. The Japanese A6M0 could turn inside a Corsair at nearly every airspeed under 300 mph. Its roll rate at 250 mph was nearly 80 degrees per second, almost double that of a loaded F4U. In side-by-side tests at Eglin Field in 1944, even American test pilots admitted the Zero would win in a sustained horizontal loop. Every tactics briefing reinforced one key point dive: boom, zoom, never stay and turn, never bleed speed, and never climb too steep. Corsair units on Okinawa stuck to that mantra. They flew high, hit fast, and ran even faster. Most engagements ended in 5 seconds or fewer. Anything longer risked getting pulled into a turn fight. And in a turn fight, the Zero always won. That's why one Marine was laughed out of the tent when he asked, "What if we can use torque to force an overshoot?" His idea was simple. Too simple. In theory, the Corsair's massive propeller produced enough rotational energy that if a pilot chopped throttle mid-climb, the engine's drag might pitch the nose backward, flipping the plane over faster than enemy pilots expected. But flight engineers dismissed it immediately. Torque reversal like that at low altitude, that was a stall, not a maneuver. 1 second too slow and you'd spin out hard. 1 second too early and you'd just bleed speed, handing your six to the enemy. Besides, the Corsair had a problem no one liked talking about. It was heavy, fully loaded. It weighed over 8,000 pounds. Every pound of that worked against high G turns. And its Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine, though a beast, wasn't known for forgiving throttle games. Pilots who messed with abrupt power cuts in combat either stalled or got shot. But the rookie kept running tests, silent ones, off mission. He noted that at exactly 280 mph, with 15 degrees of flaps and a 20% throttle cut, the Corsair would yaw hard left, drop the nose 17 degrees, and enter a half-barrel roll in under 2.3 seconds. No manual described it, no officer approved it, and no simulation could predict what would happen if you did that in the middle of a live engagement. On April 1st, 1945, he got his answer. Because as 6 enemy fighters closed in from 3 miles out, they expected a dive. They expected speed. What they didn't expect, what no one expected, was a heavy aircraft cutting throttle in a climb and flipping on its own torque. The very thing that made the Corsair unstable on approach was about to make it lethal in a dogfight. At 200 feet and descending fast, the Corsair was alone and the enemy knew it. From the northern flank of the Zero formation, one Ki-61 Tony broke left and climbed to 7,500 feet, angling for altitude advantage. 2 Zeros flanked right, staying low at 4,000 feet, hoping to draw the F4U into a shallow turn. The other 3 2 Franks and 1 more Tony began a direct pursuit line, closing at 290 mph from dead 6, distance 1.9 miles and shrinking. In the cockpit, the rookie checked his vertical speed, 900 feet per minute, airspeed 310 mph. He was flying blind to the rear, no radar, no wingman, and the radio still silent. According to doctrine, this was where you climbed out and ran. But that was the trap. Every enemy pilot watching assumed the Corsair would dive, extend, and escape. That's why they kept coming. The rookie nosed up gently, taking the Corsair from level flight into a 12-degree climb, altitude now 7,450 feet. The lead Frank committed to the turn and dove slightly just 40 feet, but it put him inside the Corsair's anticipated arc. He expected the American to panic and roll out. Instead, the Corsair kept climbing. The next 8 seconds changed everything. At 7,620 feet, the Corsair's speed dropped to 285 mph. That was just inside the stall margin with flaps partially deployed. But instead of extending away, the rookie pulled throttle back 18% and kicked full left rudder. The result was immediate, unexpected even to him. The propeller torque snapped the nose left. In under 2.1 seconds, the aircraft yawed 30 degrees, dropped 11 degrees, and rolled into an off-axis spiral that looked like a stall, but wasn't. The G-force spiked to 2.6. The Corsair's right wing dipped and leveled violently as the nose swung around. From the enemy's view, it was chaos. The lead Frank had accelerated to 320 mph and lined up for a deflection shot. But as his guns came hot, the Corsair vanished from his forward view, instantly displaced laterally by 100 feet. The second Frank adjusted left, but overshot. His rounds went wide, all 5 bursts scattering across empty sky. The Zero climbing for high cover called out over the radio, "He's spinning out. He's gone." But he was wrong, because the Corsair wasn't falling. It was rolling, tracking, lining up a dive not for escape, but for payback. And as the German-trained Tony re-entered the fight from 7,900 feet, he caught a glimpse of the impossible, a Corsair nose up, flaps half deployed, already inverted, with its guns aligned. Then the tracers came. The German-trained Tony dove first, but he dove wrong. Expecting the Corsair to stall out, he cut throttle to tighten his descent and banked right at 6,800 feet. But the rookie had already locked his path, in a move that violated every page of carrier doctrine. The Corsair rolled out of its torque spiral into a nose-low dive, crossing 7,200 feet at 340 mph. Guns hot, no hesitation. The first burst hit at 750 feet, 650 caliber rounds struck the Tony's right wing root at a shallow 15 degrees angle. The aileron sheared. Seconds later, the fuselage twisted, then snapped under the force of its own bank. The kill came in 3.2 seconds. Now came the real test. The two Zeros that had flanked low weren't fooled. They looped back from 3,000 feet in a coordinated climb, aiming to trap the Corsair from below. The rookie saw them late. He was diving at 400 mph now. Too fast to turn, too low to extend. Altitude 6,200 feet. He had two options: shallow left and risk a wide-angle merge, or hard right and climb directly into their guns. Neither offered escape. One gave him delay, the other gave him a shot. He chose the wrong one. Throttle up. Flaps 10 degrees, full right rudder. Nose up to 10 degrees. The Corsair didn't love it. The nose lagged. Speed bled fast, 410 down to 360 bar in under 2 seconds. But the Zeros misread the move, expecting him to dive again. They overshot high, cutting left. The rookie yanked the stick. A brutal 5.1 G turn forced his head back. Blood drained. The cockpit view blacked out for 1.2 seconds. But when it returned, the lead Zero was dead center. First burst 24 rounds. 3 hits. The right wing fluttered. Second burst 18 rounds. 1 ripped through the canopy. The Zero pitched nose down, spiraling into cloud. The second Zero broke off, but too late. He was climbing, slow, exposed. The Corsair pulled over into a half loop. Speed now 345 mph, descending again. The rookie's heart rate hit 174 BPM. His vision narrowed. Fuel gauge dropped below 50 gallons. Then came the third enemy, a Key 84 Frank diving from 9,000 feet. And this one wasn't overshooting. He was leading the angle perfectly. And he was fast. The Frank was closing at 420 mph, altitude 800 feet and dropping fast. Unlike the Zeros, this pilot wasn't overconfident, he was calculating. As the Corsair broke right into a shallow dive, the Frank adjusted left, keeping a 5 degrees lead angle. That meant only one thing: he wasn't chasing. He was predicting. And if he was right, the Corsair would fly directly into his guns within 5 seconds. The rookie saw it too late. His turn rate was capped. He was still pulling over 3 Gs in recovery from the half loop. Nose angle 6 degrees low, bank 32 degrees right, speed 360 mph. The Frank's nose dipped 2 degrees and held. He was perfectly placed for a high deflection shot at 700 yards. Decision time at 6,400 feet, with all energy bleeding and enemy fire imminent. The Corsair's options were gone. A climb meant getting shredded. A dive meant getting chased, and a roll would just widen his profile. But the Frank didn't shoot, because something unexpected happened. The Corsair's nose snapped left again. Not a gentle yaw, not a drift. A full, violent torque kick. Throttle cut 20%, rudder full left. Flaps dropped 15 degrees. The Corsair skipped in the air like it had been punched. It rolled 45 degrees left, its profile vanishing from the Frank's lead. At 420 mph, the Frank's own nose had nowhere to go. He fired too late, too wide. Only 2 rounds grazed the Corsair's right tailplane. No structural damage. Now it was the rookie's turn again. Rolling back right. He reversed rudder and added throttle. The F4U jolted, nearly stalled, but stabilized. Speed 330 mph. The Frank, now behind, tried to bank left into pursuit. But his dive had overshot by 600 feet. His line was ruined. That's when the Corsair climbed, not a full vertical, but a 20-degree ascent at 325 miles an hour, risky, unstable, and fully exposed. The Frank followed, gunning throttle, narrowing distance from 700 to 500 yards. The Corsair's right wing dipped. The Frank banked to match. It was a trap. At 900 feet, the rookie did the unthinkable. He pulled a torque-assisted snap roll at the top of his climb. Flaps full down. Throttle cut to idle. Rudder slammed. The Corsair flipped upside down and rolled hard left in just 1.8 seconds. The Frank's aim, set for a straight climb, went wide. Then came the burst. 450 cals lit up. Range 180 yards. The Frank's engine cowling erupted in flame. No shoot. No radio call. That was the third kill. But fuel had dropped to 42 gallons. Ammo low. And 3 more enemies were diving in from 11 o'clock, just 0.9 miles out, and closing at 390 miles. And now the trick had been seen. He should have disengaged. He knew that. 3 kills, 42 gallons left. 4 belts of ammo, 2 partially jammed. Every manual said break contact now or risk total loss. But the enemy was adapting fast. The 3 incoming aircraft weren't charging blindly. They were shifting 1 high, 1 wide, 1 low. A layered merge. Altitude 200 feet. Speed 310 mph and falling. The Corsair's engine was running hot oil temperature, peaking at 232 degrees. The left rudder pedal was stiffening. The last torque maneuver had strained something, not visible, but it was there. The lead attacker, a 0, climbed past 6,500 and leveled off at his high 6. The one on the left, a Ki-43, kept low at 4,800, climbing into a wide hook. The third, the real threat, stayed in the Corsair's blind spot at 5 o'clock low, approaching at a 17-degree angle. The ambush would close in 6 seconds. The rookie turned left. A mistake. He felt it immediately. The pedal resistance spiked, rudder lagged 0.3 seconds behind input. At 305 mph. That was enough to throw off roll timing. The aircraft hesitated. The climb flattened. He'd just handed them a profile. First burst came from the high 0 short. Disciplined. 18 rounds. Tracers passed 2 feet above his canopy. The rookie rolled right, shallow, nose down. Not fast enough. The second burst, this one from the Ki-43 low left, raked the air, 30 yards behind his tail. The sound was different now. Controlled. Coordinated. They weren't firing to intimidate. They were bracketing. That's when the Corsair shuddered. A metallic snap under the floor. Not catastrophic, but enough. Rudder authority dropped by 40%. He was stuck in shallow right turn bias. Couldn't yaw left anymore. Couldn't torque roll cleanly. He tried anyway. Throttle down. Flaps half. Stick back. But the roll stalled at 22 degrees. The nose yawed unevenly, and the left wing dropped 12 degrees below the horizon. No control. For a terrifying second. The Corsair was dead weight, wings uneven. Nose high. Speed bleeding below 270 mph. The Frank took the shot. The Frank. From 700 yards, he opened up long burst. 2 rounds hit, 1 into the starboard wing root, the other through the fuselage belly. Not fatal, but damaging. The Corsair pitched hard right. Altitude now 850 feet. Instruments flickered. The fuel gauge ticked down 41 gallons. He had 1 chance left, but it wasn't in the manual, because to survive, he'd have to fight the aircraft's own damage and force it to do something it had never done before. There was no room for finesse now. With rudder lagging and 1 wing heavier from the hit, the Corsair couldn't respond cleanly. Every standard turn became lopsided. Every climb yawed off-center. But the rookie had one advantage: speed loss. The aircraft was dropping into a corner where brute torque, not symmetry, could drive the next move. His mind jumped to what the instructors warned: never input full rudder and asymmetric throttle below 280 mph. It induces tail stall, flat spin, death. But he wasn't at 280, he was at 263 and falling. So he did it. Throttle left bank engine load, right rudder against damage bias, nose down 12 degrees, forcing airflow to cheat left. The Corsair shimmied, almost dislocated in the sky, but instead of snapping out, it twisted. Not a full spin, not a stall. Something in between, a partial torque corkscrew. The zero above misread it as loss of control. He banked in aggressively, expecting the Corsair to fall into his line. But the nose came up barely, just enough for the rookie to fire. A snapshot at 0.9 seconds. 14 rounds. 3 hits. The zero pulled up too late. A fuel line ignited. It was out. That left 2. The Frank was climbing. Fast. Coming from 5 o'clock low. His closure rate was over 150 mph, too quick to turn inside. The rookie didn't try. He cut throttle, flaps full, and let the Frank blow past on the right. At 260 mph, the Corsair staggered into a high alpha skid. The tail shook. Lift fluctuated. But he reversed rudder hard and reloaded roll momentum to the left. The aircraft bucked once, then stabilized into a flat spiral dive. Altitude 400 feet. Nose angle, 14 degrees. Speed climbing 273 mph. 290 mph. 310 mph. The Ki-43 tried to follow, but it couldn't match the dive rate. Its lighter airframe, perfect for maneuver, lacked the mass to stay on line in the drop. The Corsair pulled level at 4,700 feet, now behind both. The rookie exhaled, blinked sweat from his eyes, and pushed throttle to 100%. He was hunting again, but fuel was 37 gallons. He'd have under 4 minutes of power before return became impossible. If he chased, he had to end it fast. The Frank and Ki-43 split, one high, one low, opposite angles, a drag maneuver. Pick wrong and he'd get nothing. Pick right and he could end this in 10 seconds. He picked the high one, and that's when everything depended on the dive angle. He pulled into the climb at a 21-degree angle, pushing the Corsair's weight uphill at 320 mph. The Frank was now 900 yards ahead and slightly above, banking right into a turn he thought was safe, but the rookie had no interest in sustained turn fights. He knew this had to end before 35 gallons turned into 30. That gave him just over 100 seconds of power and only one window. He trimmed nose down 2 degrees, flattened the climb at 6,100 feet, and punched through a wind shear pocket that added 4 mph to his closure. Range dropped 850, 790, 720. The Frank rolled hard right into a descending spiral classic energy bleed maneuver. But the Corsair, heavier and still retaining dive speed from the earlier descent, was coiled for it. The rookie didn't follow flat. He cut throttle by 12%, kicked left rudder, and snapped the nose into an inside roll. The sudden yaw dropped his nose by 7 degrees and brought the Frank into the corner of his gun sight, 620 yards. He didn't fire. He waited. Frank pulled tighter. The dive steepened now at 480 yards, still no shot. The rookie adjusted trim 1. Zigzag right, flaps to 15%, and committed to a descending corkscrew. The G's built 3.4, then 3.8. At 410 yards, he tapped the trigger. 4 guns spoke. The Frank flinched, rudder hit. He rolled to compensate, but overcorrected. The rookie had seen this before in training. At high speed, even a single rudder imbalance in the Frank could induce a full roll. It happened. The Frank went over once, then again out of sync with his bank angle. The Corsair closed to 260 yards. No hesitation. He fired again. This time, the rounds walked up the wing, into the engine, and exploded out through the cockpit glass. Kill number 4. He rolled level, fuel now at 32 gallons, and scanned left. The Kai-43 was coming in fast from a shallow left approach, 340 mph, trying to catch him before he recovered. But the climb had put him in the perfect counter position. The rookie dove hard throttle, 100%, angle, 18 dig, putting the Corsair into a direct vertical escape line. The Ki-43 followed, but couldn't accelerate in time. Its angle was shallower, and at 300 feet, it was already running out of altitude. At 300 to 700 feet, the Corsair flipped upward in a barrel roll, using a sudden rudder reversal to torque left, pulling into a high yo-yo that reversed his direction. The Ki-43 passed below, exactly where he wanted it. The rookie pitched over into a tight dive, 330 Marshall, directly behind, range 600 yards, then 500, 410. The Ki-43 tried to zigzag hard jinks left, right, but its roll rate betrayed it slow at speed. The Corsair's guns found their solution in just 0.7 seconds. Burst, 20 rounds. Hits across the wing root and right aileron. The Ki-43 pulled up overstressed and stalled at 2,900 feet. It snapped left and never recovered. The Corsair rolled level again at 2,850 feet. 5 enemies down. Fuel 30 gallons. Distance to base 86 miles. The math said he couldn't make it back. But then a voice cracked over the radio, scrambled, urgent, and it changed everything. 2 more bogies inbound northwest quadrant, altitude 5,000 closing fast. The voice was distorted but American, friendly. The rookie scanned left. At his 2 o'clock high, 2 F4Us were slicing in from 7,000 feet, 2 miles out. Contrails sharp and diving. Escort flight finally. But the radio call came with a second sting. The 2 remaining Zeros from the original formation were still in the area. And one had just reappeared behind the Corsair's arc. Altitude 850 feet. Speed 290 mph. Fuel 29 gallons. The Zeros weren't retreating. They were looping for a kill. And now he had to decide run with his fuel margin, or commit to one final engagement and risk not making it home. He chose the latter. The Corsair banked right at 40 degrees, nose down 12 degrees, to rebuild speed. The rookie called out his position, no reply. The escort flight had gone dark, possibly due to jamming or distance. The Zero was climbing from 200-300 feet at a 20-degree angle, trying to cut him off before he reached the coast. He reversed direction. With only 27 gallons left, he throttled back to 85% to conserve fuel but kept the angle aggressive. The Corsair's engine temperature was now spiking oil at 238 degrees. Ammunition just 60 rounds total across the inboard guns. Outer guns were dry. He rolled left, dropped flaps to 10%, and kicked rudder to drag the nose tighter. That's when the second Zero appeared low, fast, and already firing. Tracers stitched the sky 40 feet behind him. The rookie reacted instantly. Dive angle, 14 degrees. Throttle 100%. Airspeed 320 mph. He let the first Zero overshoot, kept the nose down, and pulled into a shallow right roll. But the enemy didn't give up. Both Zeros were circling now, working as a team, one trying to pin him high, the other cutting the escape low. It was a textbook vice maneuver. He couldn't outturn both, he couldn't outrun both, and he didn't have the fuel to stall fight. But he had terrain. Ahead, just 7 miles away, was a stretch of cloud bank forming near the water, thin, broken, but enough. He dove for it. Altitude dropped 2,800, 2,500, 2,200 feet. The Zeros closed. Distance 900 yards and tightening. Fuel 24 gallons. Gun ammo 52 rounds. He pitched left, then snapped right, throwing debris from the damaged rudder seam into the airstream to simulate a systems hit. It worked. 1 Zero pulled up, expecting him to climb. The other dropped lower. That was his break. At 2,100 feet, he flattened out, flew into the cloud edge, and vanished. The sky went white. Silence. No tracers, no chatter. For 5 full seconds, he flew blind. Then came the shadow off his right wing. A zero had followed. He had just one solution left and no room for error. But to execute it, he'd have to use the Corsair's worst-known trait and flip it to his advantage. He pulled the stick hard left beyond training limits, initiating a high-speed roll that leveraged the Corsair's infamous torque. Normally, it would cause dangerous yaw at this speed, especially with asymmetric damage to the rudder. But that instability was now his trap. The Zero followed predictably tight in pursuit, expecting a full brake turn. Instead, the Corsair's roll collapsed early. The rookie slammed the throttle forward, then instantly cut power and energy kill maneuver that forced the aircraft to snap flat for just under a second. The Zero overcommitted. It slid wide. For that one breath, both aircraft were side by side in the cloud's edge. The Corsair's canopy caught the glint of silver fuselage. Gun camera footage would later reveal the moment range 180 yards, angle 23 degrees, crossing right to left. He squeezed the trigger. 8 rounds, all hit. The Zero rolled twice, smoke trailing, and disappeared into the soup below. Seconds later, the Corsair emerged from cloud at 1,900 feet, sky clear. Fuel 19 gallons, ammo 44 rounds. But he wasn't alone. The second F4U appeared off his 12 o'clock high wings, wagging. Friendlies. They dropped into escort position. The rookie finally exhaled, but the engine stuttered. Once, then again. Temperature gauge 2444 to go. Fuel 18 gallons. Still 74 miles to base. Every choice now was survival-based. He throttled down to 70%, trimmed nose 2 degrees up to maximize glide potential, and signaled the lead F4U low fuel. They responded with a shallow escort pattern and an immediate vector south. At 12 miles out, a U.S. destroyer responded to a Mayday echo from his escort wingman and launched an emergency Pathfinder recon bird. He followed its trail. Altitude 400 feet. Fuel 8 gallons. Every vibration in the stick felt like a warning. At 3 miles from base, they broke radio silence. Corsair 3 cleared to land strip open. Watch crosswind gusts. He lowered gear. It clunked once unevenly. Then the right side dropped fully into place. Left hung. The manual said not to land with asymmetric gear unless ditching was impossible, but he didn't have a choice. He lined up on approach. Fuel 3 gallons, throttle 40%, sink rate 650 feet per minute. He touched down hard. The left gear collapsed. The aircraft skidded 90 yards and stopped nose first in the dirt off the main strip. The canopy flung open, and the rookie climbed out alive. Every crewman within 300 yards sprinted over. One ground chief pointed to the bullet holes. Engine scorch and leaking wing. You flew this back. The rookie didn't speak. He just nodded. And that's when the film crew caught up. Gun camera film still rolling. But what command did next stunned everyone. The gun camera film was recovered and developed within hours. Frame by frame, it showed each of the 5 confirmed kills angles, distances, impact bursts, and trajectories. Intelligence officers reviewed it twice. No embellishments, no guesses. Everything was visible the initial Frank interception at 610 yards. The corkscrew drop into the Ki-43, the twin zero trap broken by cloud roll. And the final hit at just 180 yards through broken overcast. The tape didn't lie, but neither did command. They buried it. The official mission debrief made no mention of the 5th kill. Only 3 were listed as probable. The excuse, visual confirmation lacking, cloud interference, possible mis-ID of enemy airframes. In reality, the footage was deemed too encouraging. An 18-year-old rookie, fresh out of qualification, had made tactical calls that exceeded doctrine. If adopted openly, it would raise questions about command structure and risk assessments. Still, the film spread, unofficially. Pilots began asking to review it in briefing rooms. It made copies unofficial ones passed between squadrons under the table. Some frames were turned into sketches, pinned to lockers with kill count chalk under each. By late August, a new phrase began circulating across the Pacific reverse flat snap. It wasn't in any manual, but everyone knew what it meant. In Squadron 121, a whispered saying replaced the standard training reminder. If the Corsair rolls too hard, don't fight it, fly it. The rookies' maneuver had created a tactic no instructor had sanctioned, but every pilot now practiced in cloud drills. By October, instructors began unofficially authorizing low-fuel flat trims and torque reversal dives in emergency conditions. These were previously marked as high-risk violations, but pilots didn't care. Survival had a new playbook and it had no title. Yet even as the tactic spread, the pilot who discovered it remained off the record. That part wouldn't change, and the aircraft he flew was next. The F4U Corsair that returned from the Okinawa mission was patched, refueled, and reassigned within 48 hours. It flew again twice before being rotated out for engine overhaul. The nose section was riddled with patched holes, the left gear strut remained slightly off-center, and the internal torque system, stressed by that flat reversal snap at high throttle, was quietly flagged as compromised, but serviceable. No one retired it. No one marked it as exceptional. The pilot, he was reassigned to a stateside training unit 2 weeks later. Official reason rotation for evaluation and instruction. Unofficially, command wanted him grounded before other rookies tried copying his stunt outside simulation. He never flew another combat mission. Not one. He was 18 years old. His name faded from the active logs. No medal, no citation. But his tactic lived on unnamed. Instructors simply called it the reverse roll drop. Sometimes the flat stall exit. There was never agreement. But in over 14 recorded engagements that followed across Guam, Formosa, and the Philippine Sea Corsair pilots would execute a version of it to escape cloud traps or beat zero teams using tight arc baiting. No one cited him. But every time a pilot rolled too hard and somehow turned it into an energy win at low altitude, they flew inside his ghost. If you're cleared for escort duty, and the clouds get thick, and your wingman goes silent, remember the manuals won't help you there, but maybe his trick will.